Hey everyone, Joe Waxman here. And in this video, I want to look at the conjunction of the sun and moon. Guys, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Before I begin, just want to make a quick announcement. I will be hosting a class on the nodes of the moon, February 12th, next Sunday, not this Sunday, the Sunday after, no, sorry, yeah, yes, 12, sorry, yeah. Yeah, so just please email me if you want to get on the list, and cost is $10, time is 7 p.m. Eastern time. I never know whether it's like which one is daylight savings and which one is standard, because it's just like it doesn't make any sense, but whatever time it is normally right now. So yeah, what is sun and moon? Well, sun obviously is it's our ego, it's our pride, it's how we relate to the world, it's sort of the part of our personality that eclipses all the other parts. And in tandem with our ascendant, it really makes up the bulk of our identity. I mean, you know, our personal identity is more formed by our ascendant, but our worldly identity is more formed by our sun. You know, and people go like, when they say like, oh, I'm a Leo, I'm a Gemini, I'm a Cancer, I'm a Taurus, I'm a Aquarius, whatever, right? What they're talking about is their sun sign, really. Because that's how we relate to the world. And if we're going to talk about ourselves, we're going to talk about ourselves to somebody else, which means we're invoking our sun sign, right? When we're alone by ourselves, it might be, you know, okay, we're really into our ascendant and maybe in our moon. But then when we're, you know, engaging with the world, we're always engaging with our sun sign. So yeah, it's our vitality, it's our sort of drive, you could say, worldly drive, worldly ambition, worldly ego. All these things relate to our sun. The moon is a bit more personal, and you know, together with the ascendant, they call it the big three: the sun, moon, and ascendant. And our ascendant is our moon. Sorry, our moon is a very personal part of ourself. It relates to our emotions and our heart and our inner mind, and it's sort of the quiet inner voice inside us, sometimes not so quiet, and I don't mean to minimize it. It's often pretty strong, a pretty forceful voice, and you'll know this especially if your sun and moon are conflicted. For instance, myself, I can give you some examples. My sun and moon are square, so I have a really good experience of the way they conflict. My Gemini sun wants to be like, you know, have fun and tell jokes and be all expressive and Geminian, and my Virgo moon's like all conservative and be like, no, don't do that. This might happen, that might happen. Oh, it might be embarrassing or whatever, you know, like, and it's very inhibitive, right? So that's the kind of thing that happens when your sun and moon are conflicting, whether they're square or in conjunct. You're going to have a lot of polarity. If they're opposite, you know, then it's a swings, you know, it's a big swing. It's a bit different, actually. Though the full moon, the opposition is quite good in many ways, because then you get the polarity. You can see both sides of things, and it makes you very worldly, very relationship oriented. When they're conjunct, when the sun or moon conjunct, it's new moon. It's either moon's waning towards the end of its cycle, or it's waxing in a new cycle. And during new moons are a quiet time for people, right? Lunatics come out in the full moon, right? That's the whole thing. Like a full moon is known for being great for partying, socializing, being out in the world. New moons are quiet inward times. So people who are born on the new moon, whether it's waning or waxing, and there's a subtle difference there. One is more geared towards endings when it's the waning, balsamic moon. And when it's a new moon, the moon's ahead of the sun, then it's new beginnings, right? New birth, right? And so there's the themes that will play out in a person's life, whether it's towards the end or the beginning. But there's a quietness, and that's not to say that everyone with a sun moon conjunction is really all that quiet. It's not so. That would depend on the sign and the house and the aspects, but there's an internalness and a protectedness that you're not going to see with other moons, where they might be a lot more outgoing, a lot more worldly, a lot more open-minded, open-hearted, right? The new moons tend to be very focused, and there will be a bit of protection, especially with their moon, the moon side of things, because the moon's hidden, right? You don't see the moon when it's a new moon. The sun eclipses it. So this same thing here with this conjunction. The sun is eclipsing the moon. You're not going to see the moon very well, right? The person might feel their moon. They might, it's going to, the moon will express itself with the sun the same way with any planet conjunct the sun. It's sort of like, the way I like to imagine it, is sort of like the sun is hot and fiery, and whatever planet is with it, it's burning it, and you're getting an incense. You're getting a perfume, a smell, an essence of that planet with the sun, but you're not getting the full, raw, expression of that planet, which you would when it's separate from the sun, So it's like that. It's roasting. It's incense. It's becoming incense, right? Perfume. You're getting a perfume. So these people can be emotional. Because they're exhibiting their moon. They can be emotionally motivated, but it's a lot. There's going to be a lot of internal dialogue, a lot of sort of need to reflect, independently and on their own, rather than worldly and in relationships. All that stuff might be a part of it, but there's always going to be that need to internalize and look within and consult your inner moon alone by yourself. The new moon theme, which is that sort of going inward and being a bit more introspective. It definitely can help with sort of spirituality. Not that if you have a full moon, you can't be ultra spiritual. Again, you can, but it's going to help with that internalization process, right? The quietude. Together with that, it's very focused. It's a very focused combination, because the moon, again, is so powerful, right? I experience it all the time with myself. My sun pulling me one way, my moon's conflicting with the square, and it's like, right? Who wins? The moon's powerful. It's not that the moon is like any less powerful, because the sun is more worldly, but the moon is more personal, right? It's more internal. It's like the difference between your father and mother. Father's like, oh, let's go out in the town, let's have some fun, and mother's like, better not. You better stay home and do your homework, right? So that sort of thing. But if they're both aligned, if mother and father are both saying the same thing, then it's really a strong focus. And then the next thing you'd have to do is look how the house it's in, because then you would relate it to the ascendant and the ascendant lord. So what's the relationship with the ascendant and ascendant lord? Is it a conflicting relationship or a harmonious one? And then you'll find out really the direction of the person. In that way, you can find out so much. And in general, you always want to look at the sun and moon and ascendant lord to find out where the person's internal conflicts are, the major ones, right? So let's look at it, how it manifests in each sign. All right. And I'm going to try and move through this a little quicker, because I don't want this to take too long. I know I say that, and yeah, sometimes I just let it go on too long. All right. You notice this big S here. I've added a few more aspects onto my Astro Gold software, where you can turn on and off aspects. This is a septile. So I have a septile. put in septiles and nobiles, and they're multiples. This is S2 or S, no, this is S3. So third, 3 septiles, 3 sevenths. Septiles 7th, nobiles 9th. And I'm just in the studying phase. I've looked at these before. Septile tends to bring in a kind of focus, a quietude. So for somebody who's like needs to really like have a sort of I don't know, laser kind of focus, a septile will come into play. Nobile, I'm still working on it. It's definitely important. It's very important in Vedic. Relates to a lot of things. 9 is a very powerful number. These are for marriage. But in any case, I'm still in observation mode. I need to come to my own understanding of these things in order to really make sense of it. So one thing at a time. Any case, Lucy Lawless, Xena, Princess Warrior, and in Battlestar Galactica and a lot of other things, of course. And Sun, Moon, and Aries, right? So she can definitely, Sun, Moon, and Aries and Ascendant. My gosh, very Aryan, Lucy Lawless. I mean, she is a princess warrior. I mean, it's great that these casting directors or whoever can pinpoint a quality in a person without knowing astrology. Maybe they do know astrology. I don't know. But I mean, she's very Aryan. And then where's her Mars? Where's her Mars? Sorry. Oh, Mars is 0 degrees Taurus. Okay. Yeah. So Mars is a bit irritated, but very stubborn, very fighty. Yeah, Mars and Taurus can go one of two ways. It can either be very, very fighty, aggressive, like a bull, or just really sort of not wanting to upset itself, because that Taurus, that Taurian energy, right? It's either really angry, or like just leave me alone, let me just be, right? Don't bother me, right? So interesting. And her Mars has the septile, really strong one, to Neptune, which is great for acting. Neptune's in the 8th house, and that's great for sort of like the grit, the sex and violence, the all the good stuff for movies and acting and whatnot. Yeah, so I mean that's pretty much, great, hugely strong ascendant, exalted sun, moon. Sun's pulling in 5th house, entertainment, moon 4th house. So early childhood, youth, sort of finding her direction at a young age. And then music also, she's into music. And then you can see this fantastic Venus Mercury conjunction in Pisces in the 12th. So definitely a lot of creativity. And this is actually same combination, well, Sun in Aries with an ascendant in the 1st with Bach and Ravi Shankar, the legendary sitar player. In any case, this is Lucy Lawless. Also very powerful 6th house for Pluto and Uranus. So very kind of like intense and kind of like explosive. For fighting. And so yeah, definitely she could play like really a tough guy, or not, well, tough girl, strong, very strong character, let's put it that way. North Node in Aries. Wow. Sun Saturn, definitely. Sun Saturns are I mean, they're tough. They're hardworking, they're tough. They are very Saturnian. Depends on what sign and everything. Like sometimes it can make the person very fearful, but they can be very, iron, like iron. They're made of iron. In any case, let's move on to Taurus. Oh well, let me tell you who has it in Aries. So Marlon Brando, Emile Zola, who's a novelist, and Leighton Meester. She's an actress. Don't ask me what or who or how. It's just that there's less of these sun moon conjunctions to draw from. So, all right, let's go to Taurus, and we're going to look up Ho Chi Minh. He was the Vietnamese communist dictator during the Vietnam War. It's so sensitive to how you spell it. There we go. Need that accent over the O. So yeah, Ho Chi Minh was the president, or I don't know how they or whatever, the leader of Vietnam in the 60s, the communist leader. And just while I'm here, Chris Brown, Karl Marx. So Karl Marx and Ho Chi Minh, both communists. Florence Nightingale, who's a nurse, and Tim Roth, he's an actor. All right. So, Ho Chi Minh. A lot of times leaders have strong Taurian energy, Taurus suns, because it's fixed, it's so stubborn, right? So that's not uncommon. So sun, moon, and ascendant, again, so much focus. There's really no like sort of wavering when you have like so much energy in one sign. And then really actually similar combination to Lucy Lawless, first, second house activation, sun, moon, ascendant, all in Taurus in the first, and then Venus in Gemini, and Pluto and Neptune and North Node, all in Gemini in this conjunct the second. And then look at this S. I mean, Mercury's stationary in Gemini. The guy's brilliant. Like he's got to be super duper smart. And then even North Node, and then great at speaking, great, like brilliant thinking and speaking. I mean, no wonder he's the lead. And then Jupiter conjunct the MC in Aquarius for the sort of communist idealism. That's very, prominent. Very Aquarius. You'll often see Aquarius prominent in people who are thinking about things like, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be a communist or a socialist, but they're thinking about society. They're thinking about social, political causes, right? It's the same for Uranus, right? When Uranus is strong, that indicates somebody who's potentially going to be very social or political minded, which means they're thinking about the best way to run a society. Some people come to the conclusion that it's socialism or communism. Others would say, no, we need freedom, right? So in any case, the Jupiter is trying this Mercury, which is excellent because it's such a strong Mercury, and it's conjunct the MC. So yeah, very strong for leadership. Saturn square the sun and moon, which is really interesting because it's in Leo. So that, again, in fourth house. So Saturn in Leo is not great, but the really tight contact with the sun ruling Leo, bonifying this Saturn, fourth house, homeland. Right? So that's good. All right. Mars in the seventh, very bossy, right? Likes to order people around, whatnot. Okay, so that's Taurus. We're moving right through this so we don't take too long. In Gemini, we got Heidi Klum, Queen Victoria, David Rockefeller, and Salman Rushdie. He's an author. But let's look up Heidi Klum. Heidi Klum. All right. So obviously she's a supermodel and she's like hosted various shows, including like, I don't know, Project Runway, or I know she's on America's Got Talent. So she's had an amazing career, made tons of money, won tons of like, oh, she's also a fashion designer, businesswoman, right? Super successful. 29th degree of Leo ascendant, that means it's right on Regulus, same as President Trump's ascendant, right? So very, very strong there. So, and then Venus ruling the MC, Sun ruling the ascendant, all in Gemini stellium, Mercury in Gemini. Mercury's bonifying this whole 11th house, including the Sun, and the Sun, ascendant lord. Sun is the ascendant lord, and MC, Venus. So you can see she's extremely focused because the Gemini stellium. Sun, it's not only Sun, it's ascendant lord, and then conjunct the moon, conjunct the MC lord, conjunct Saturn, conjunct Mercury. Mercury is in domicile. And then Mercury is exactly conjunct Venus. And this is a good combination. Mercury-Venus combinations are great, right? Mercury being in domicile is bonifying this Venus. Venus often for women will dictate, will show their looks, but also the ascendant lord, ascendant lord, right? So this Mercury is making her more beautiful because it's in Gemini, and then so it's bonifying this Venus. Also career in Taurian things, beauty, fashion, all that, right? And then Jupiter right in between the Sun and Moon trine, stationary, right? Stationary. That's amazing. That's perfect. So she's probably got a great sense of humor too with all this air. Jupiter in Aquarius is very common for people with comedians, but she has she's a pretty strong businesswoman as well. She's got the Mars in the 7th, right? So and then the Venus ruling the MC, so she's very, likes that money, likes that fashion and beauty. So yeah, Heidi Klum, pretty successful. Exact opposition between Uranus and Chiron. So that would be 3rd and 9th. Sharp expression, unusual, could be pretty funny again, like I said. Interesting. All right, there's a septile between Chiron and Sun, makes her quite unique. Chiron is that, again, if it's well aspected, it's like an X factor. It's like the spark that can set somebody apart. In any case, let's move right along. We'll go to Cancer, and we got Harrison Ford, Sofia Vergara, which is funny because Heidi Klum and Sofia Vergara are the 2 female hosts or judges of America's Got Talent. So that's interesting. Conor McGregor, George Orwell, and Pablo Neruda. Let's look at Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford is a great actor. Everyone loves him, but politically he's an idiot. It's like a lot of Hollywood celebrities. They're so out of touch. They got so many millions. They just have no clue what they're talking about. They just, politics is all face value for them. Whoever sounds like the nicest, most, caring person, they're gonna just be like, oh, that's what we want. They don't give a shit about like the people because they have no clue. They don't know that they don't give a shit. They just don't because they're out of touch. They're just completely, moronic, most of them, with their opinions. So anyway, he's a dope. I'm just telling you. But he's a great actor, and everyone loves him on screen. All right, Libra ascendant, Venus and Gemini. Yeah, Jupiter conjunct Jupiter exalted, conjunct the MC. So fantastic career. Moon in Cancer, conjunct the sun. So yeah, sun and moon in Cancer, it's going to be, people are going to be very emotional based, but also hidden and protective, right? Very internalized. Moon could be quite intuitive. Of course, any planet could conjunct the sun is going to have a combust feeling at times, so they can be irritable. They can become, they're going to be very nice, but then they can become, like burn out. And they can have that irritated quality, the burning quality. So they need time alone. They need time to repair. They need time to heal. They can be very sensitive and emotional, especially in Cancer, right? But he's got this great Jupiter here. Very loaded, like 9th, 10th, 11th house, right? So his career, his public image is really strong. He's got the Gemini, Cancer, and Leo, and Virgo even, and then Neptune in the 12th in Virgo. So it's all really strong. Jupiter and Moon in Cancer bonifying his 10th house. So Jupiter conjunct Mercury, really expanding his expression, making it big, making it vocal, making it, great for drama, great for the big screen. So, yep, that's basically Harrison Ford. All his planets are direct, so he's kind of just a follower. I mean, not necessarily, but like a lot of times, you'll see when planets are all direct, these people are very smooth because nothing's in retrograde, but at the same time, they want people to follow. They don't like people who go against the grain, which is what a retrograde does. They want everyone else to be like they are, which is basically just going with the flow and all that. The ascendant is trine Uranus, and that makes him quite unique, quite dynamic, and potentially kind of brilliant because of the air quality and humor. It's adding humor, right? Air and Uranus lend itself a lot to humor, so he does have that funny quality. All right, let's go to Leo. Charlize Theron, Nipsey Hussle, Wesley Snipes, Peter O'Toole, and Martin Sheen. But I chose Charlize Theron for this. And again, another Hollywood dope who's great on the screen, but dopey as far as their social, political, same as Harrison Ford, same as a lot of them. There's dopey dopes. Any case, Sun, Moon, Leo, Mercury in Leo, and then check this out. Venus in Virgo, stationary on the ascendant. I mean, personally, I think she's gorgeous. I think she's absolutely, fantastic. And that's Venus stationary, but it's also Virgo, which is interesting. Like, so, Venus rules, Venus exalted in Pisces, so it's in detriment in Virgo, right? But it's stationary. So her sense of beauty and fashion is probably like on point, right? Because Virgo's got the very critical eye, not easy to deal with, super duper picky, right? And I hear she has a hard time with men, but that's probably why, because she's so picky and she just knows exactly what she wants. It's extremely refined, and she's like, no, like nobody's good enough for her, right? With this combination, but great sense of beauty, great physical beauty, and then very egotistical, probably, but extremely confident, great for acting. Sun, Moon, and Mercury in Leo, 12th house. Mercury, Moon's ruling the 11th. Mercury's ruling the 10th. Moon's ruling the 11th. Sun's ruling the 12th. So Very great combination. Venus ruling the ninth and the second for speaking, ninth for a level of sophistication and intelligence. All right. North Node in Scorpio, which is really interesting. She's born 1975, so she's moving into that Scorpio. So things will definitely get more difficult for her, more intense as she gets older. In the third house, expression, writing. Interesting. She could move into darker roles, and she can play those dark roles. She remember I mean South Node Mars, but like Monster she played, and she was definitely not attractive in that movie, right? She did play a monster. And she's of course she's got a Saturn in Cancer, which is in detriment. And that's interesting for somebody like her. I mean, she's got such a strong chart, but this should make her career success more difficult. In any case, perhaps because Moon is conjunct Sun in Leo, and Sun in Leo's in domicile. All right, and then Ascendant Lord also conjunct Sun in Leo. Anyway, Charlize Theron. Let's go to Virgo, and we got Fiona Apple, Genghis Khan, Leo Tolstoy, Lyndon Johnson, and Vincenzo Lancia, the founder of Lancia cars. But I want to look at Fiona Apple. And I was just checking to see if she was still around, what she was doing, like, in the 90s, as Gen Xers, we remember Fiona Apple. She had a few hits. Pretty talented girl, right? And she's been making music all this time, and she just, and every single one of her albums has met with critical acclaim, and she's had her hits. She just hasn't been, well, maybe it's just me. I really don't follow music anymore, right? But she's still doing it. It's amazing. And she was kind of a child prodigy. She has a Scorpio ascendant with Uranus in Scorpio in the first house, similar to me, born a similar time. And then ascendant Uranus trine a Jupiter, exalted Jupiter, conjunct Mars, which is really interesting. Mars in Cancer. Mars in Cancer is so can be violent, can be hypersexual, because Mars is that desire, especially for ascendant Lord Mars. Mars rules that physical desire and the aggression, right? And in Cancer, it's like losing all structure. It's like becoming weak and watery. So, that there's that song "Criminal," which is about her betraying the only guy that she ever felt like something close to love, right? Which is interesting because that would be like a Mars and Cancer kind of thing. Just like not having any real structure to your desires or sexuality or something like that. Of course, there is the exalted Jupiter in Cancer, so she is very and I've read some good stuff about her. Like she canceled the tour because her dog was sick or something like that. And she wrote a very heartfelt letter to her fans saying how her dog needed her. So I actually do have some respect for Fiona Apple. I think she's very talented, and she's got a Mercury in Virgo. Not only that, check this out. It's not stationary, but it's extremely slow. It's practically stationary. It's 9 minutes per day, and you can look here. 1 day from station, so almost virtually stationed in domicile, exaltation in the 11th house, so career success. Also with Sun and Moon in Virgo. That's extremely strong, right? And she trained classically in classical piano as a young child, and writes all her own music. So she is basically kind of a musical prodigy, right? She's really good. And Mercury's ruling the 11th and the 8th. So she has that depth that comes from the 8th house too. The sex and violence, the death, rebirth, spirituality, occultism, transformation that's coming into her. And the Virgo, of course, is very sophisticated, very academic, very, talented, really. Not necessarily talented, but very academic, very puritanical, very, it's going to do things perfectly. Creativity can be difficult for a Virgo because it's so intellectual, but it's going to do it. Like, it's going to take something good and make it way better. But she does have strong 12th house as well with North Node and Pluto, so I think she'll do great. And then Neptune also is adding its creative imagination to this 12th house conjunctions here. Sun's ruling the MC, that's great. Moon's ruling the 9th, but dispositing this Jupiter, Mars, the ascendant Lord. So yeah, it's Fiona Apple. With Chiron in the 7th, she definitely likes unusual guys, unusual people, unusual relationships, not just guys, all kinds. Chiron has a really nice trine to Mercury, so that's making it even more stand out, right? Very, very unique. All right, Libra, we got John Krasinski. He was in The Office. He's I forget his name. He's the guy. And he's been in a bunch of other stuff. He's actually really good. Nick Cannon, Kate Winslet, and Dwight D. Eisenhower. And I'm going to look at Nick Cannon because I actually didn't know who he was, but everyone's like making jokes about his kids. So I'm like, okay, let's look him up. So we're doing Nick Cannon. And Nick Cannon apparently is like in a lot of stuff. Like he acted, he does comedy, and he's a rapper, and he's hosted a bunch of stuff, and he's got a bunch of kids with a bunch of different women, including Mariah Carey. And is it any wonder with this 5th house, right? 5th house, Sun, Moon, Saturn, Pluto in Libra, Gemini ascendant. So Gemini ascendant is why he's like all over the place. Like he wants to do everything, right? He's just like, oh, I can do a little bit of this and that and this and everything, very familiar. But yeah, 5th house for kids, 5th house for entertainment. Saturn is here, bonifying the whole thing. Sun exactly conjunct Moon. Sun is not great in Libra, but especially with a Saturn here, Moon, and then Pluto is making it very powerful. And then Libra, I'm telling you, yeah, I don't need to tell you, you probably already know, but Libra gets shit done. Like I said, like I always say, like criticize them for being whatever, superficial, vain, whatever. They're like fish in the ocean of people. They know how to maneuver. They know how to work. It's the sign of people. It's the sign of equal relationships. They view everyone as equals. They don't view anyone as superior or inferior. They meet you as an equal, and that's why they're so successful. Because to them, everyone's an equal, everyone's a partner, everyone's a potential business or friend or some relationship where they can do business with. Versus Virgo and Scorpio always has a push-pull with their relationships. Virgo's always coming underneath, wanting to serve, and then maybe, try and like fight their way up. And then Scorpio starts out very weak, but over time becomes very powerful and realizes that they are stronger than everyone else. And so therefore they want to dominate and control other people, which somehow, I don't know why, but people don't always like that. It's weird, You'd think everyone would want to be controlled by Scorpio. Turns out they don't. I don't know. So anyway, but he does have also a strong Scorpio with Mars in Scorpio conjunct Uranus, so he's pretty explosive and fighty, and Mercury in Scorpio. And I heard that he had like a, rap battle showdown with Eminem. So I don't know. I mean, he's got the strong air combination, also South Node in Aquarius. So yeah, I mean, kind of a competitor there. I'm not saying he's better than Eminem as far as rapping, but he's more versatile. He can do more things than Eminem. Eminem's probably a better rapper. He's just more focused about it, but so somebody like Nick Cannon, he's focused on everything. I mean, he's focused on relationships is basically what he's focused on, with some strong fighting ability. Neptune in the 7th, it's a bit of a schmoozer, with his Libra placements, and he can be, kind of sneaky, and but the Neptune in the 7th definitely, maybe not, especially in Sag, maybe not the most trustworthy person. Great for show business and stuff like that. Venus and Virgo, very picky, square the ascendant. He's probably very irritable as well, and then he's that's why he goes through women. He's always with somebody different and having kids with them because he's overly picky. Jupiter's in Virgo, so again, Jupiter is not great in Virgo. Jupiter is debilitated in Virgo, so I don't know. Not very high-minded, but very strong 5th house, so great for entertainment and all that. Chiron in the 12th. Chiron has a septile to Pluto, it seems. Yeah. A triseptile, but in any case, that's adding to his uniqueness. Chiron is square the nodes also, so that in the 12th house. Just playing a very unique character in film, behind the camera, and all sort of creative endeavors. So that's just the quick and lowdown about Nick Cannon. Definitely a schmoozy people person. Probably make a good judge. Virgo's the critic, Libra's the judge, especially with Saturn in Libra. Very strong judging ability. Scorpio's the daredevil, along with Aries. Aries is more like, well, they're a little bit different, but they can both be daredevils, both those Mars signs. In any case, that is Libra. In Scorpio, speaking of Scorpio, we got Ryan Reynolds, Kim Wilde. Kim Wilde, if you're not familiar with it, she's saying Kids in America, and she was popular in the 80s, singer. We're the kids in America. Whoa. We're the kids in America. Whoa. In any case, Georgia O'Keeffe, she's a painter, and Bram Stoker of Dracula. I wanted to look at his chart because that's awesome. Bram Stoker, Scorpio, Sun and Moon. Let's look at Ryan Reynolds. And he was in that superhero movie. What's it called? Where he can where he's has the swords and he's killing people, and then he can regrow limbs. He's hilarious. He really is funny. And he was voted sexiest man alive one year by one of the magazines. I don't know. But of course, Mars in Scorpio, right? He's got a Virgo ascendant, and then Sun, North Node, Moon, Uranus, Mars in Scorpio, 2nd house. Uranus conjunct, these Uranus part of it, that makes him really funny. And then, Mercury in Libra, Pluto in Libra, that doesn't hurt either because it's an air sign. And then Sun opposite Chiron, South Node conjunct Chiron. So definitely for that uniqueness, the X factor, the superhero, Deadpool. Deadpool is what it's called. Got it. Very proud of myself remembering names. Yeah, so he's pretty concentrated in first and second house. So yeah, that's really good for, you know, acting, speaking roles, things like that. Mercury is ruling the MC and the ascendant. Conjunct Pluto, which is also very scorpionic. Right, even though it's in Libra, then tons of Scorpio, right? Tons of Scorpio influence. So really interesting. Definitely the sex and violence kind of guy. Sun's ruling the 12th, dispositing Saturn. Moon's ruling the 9th or 11th. Sorry, 11th and 12th in the second. So yeah, I mean, and then North Node, right? So he's gonna get stronger as he gets older. That's what this is indicating. He's starting out a little weak and weird, but he's gonna get better and better roles. I watch as he gets older. He's gonna become a much more prominent actor. We're in the same year as me, so he's gonna blow up. He's not going away. So that's Scorpio. Moon obviously does not do so well in Scorpio, but I'll say this: if Mars is in Scorpio like his is, or if yeah, even Uranus, because Uranus is considered exalted in Scorpio, then the debilitated moon is going to have like a special quality because it's going to be debilitated, and it's going to have a boost up from the dignified planets of Mars and Uranus, and great for movies because it's going to have that polarity, right? So he can play somebody like Deadpool, who's kind of like, you know, a good guy but also a bad guy at the same time. And we love these qualities, especially in the creative arts, where somebody can kind of have that polar quality. They're good and they're bad at the same time, right? Maybe overall they're good, but they're kind of bad too, right? All right, let's go to Sagittarius. And we got Andrew Tate, who's apparently in jail now for running off his big mouth. And I don't hate him. It's like a lot of people are like, oh my God, he's so awful. He's so terrible. I'm like, okay, I don't have to agree with everything he said. I'm not, you know, into the misogyny, but he does say some things that are true, right? So, you know, you cannot agree with somebody and still acknowledge that the other things you do agree with. It's not all or nothing, right? People are just like, oh, I love this person. I love everything about them. Or I hate this person. I hate everything about. There's a lot of gray in this world. There's a lot of mixed, you know, like I can be like Harrison Ford. It's awesome in the movies, and his politics sucks. He's just an idiot. But he's not. Everyone is good at everything, you know. So I agree with some of Andrew Tate's stuff. So I don't even care. You can find him offensive as heck, but anyway, Sagittarius, Andrew Tate, Lucky Luciano, Claire Forlani, who is in Mallrats. She was the girl in Mallrats. Ray Romano, everyone loves Raymond, and Clay Aiken. He's a singer on American Idol. He got famous there. In any case, every single one of these people don't have a good birth time except for Lucky Luciano. So we're looking at Lucky Luciano, who was a mobster, and I already covered his chart, but I have to do it again. A mobster in New York. He was actually born in Sicily, and it's amazing that he's famous, but he modernized the mafia, the modern crime family. Eventually busted. went to jail, then released as an informant, I guess, and went back to Sicily. In any case, Aquarius ascendant, so Saturn, so very strong MC 10th house with Sun, Saturn, Moon, and Mercury. And none of these planets are in great dignity here. All right, Jupiter's over here in Libra, ascendant in the MC Lord in the 8th house, so 8th house, obviously. And then Venus, Chiron, Pluto, Uranus in Scorpio. So we need that 8th house Scorpionic kind of quality for criminals, usually, most of the time. Right? Career in 8th house, career, MC Lord in the 8th house. He was into prostitution, I guess. He was into, but that was his business. He's a businessman. He's a crime lord. He's a mobster. That's my name. Mobster. Okay. North Node in Capricorn, obviously. And then you got this opposition to Pluto and Neptune in Gemini. These are retrograde. And Mercury, closest to Mercury, but it's still influencing all of these strongly. And then we got the inconjunct to Venus, Pluto, Neptune, Chiron, in any case. In the 4th house. 4th house, always for these types, they need that 4th house influence because they like to control territories. And that's a 4th house theme. Territories, land, turf, right? You got turf wars with criminal gangs, right? So they're always having that 4th house influence. And 10th house usually, especially if they're gonna be like, for being a boss, right? Then you want a strong 10th house. And he made his way, he killed the other boss and he became the boss. Right? Sun is ruling the 7th, Moon is ruling the 6th, South Node in the 6th in Cancer. So yeah, very, very strong, focused. Moon, Sun, Saturn. Saturn makes him that Iron Man, right? Saturn, especially conjunct the Sun, these are very tough people, even if it's a soft sign. Sun, Saturn makes somebody really, really strong, really Saturnian, right? In a very, it's not great for the Sun or the Moon. It's not great for the Moon, but it's making very Saturnian, and that means cold and hard and tough and strict and yeah, like especially with the Moon, cold-hearted, right? And then with Mercury here, then that's going to make his thinking, even though it's Sagittarius, Mercury's not so good in Sagittarius, but it's conjunct Saturn, so that's going to make his intellect much more strict and like business-minded, materialistic, able to lead. Saturn's very leadership-oriented, not very personal. And then Mars, of course. The Sun and Mars are good together because that makes Mars very active. That makes the Sun very active, very much a go-getter, right? And so, wow. I mean, very strong, very tough personality. Intense. So, very materialistic. Do not mess around with this guy. So super focused. Saturn is the ascendant lord, right? So it's all just, concentrated right here at the MC with him as the leader, boss, super boss man. All right, that is Sagittarius. Now we'll go to Capricorn. I just learned something that the Capra in Capricorn relates to goats. Capra. So it's Capricorn. Corn means horn. So goat horn is Capricorn, I believe. In any case. Zoe Deschanel, Federico Fellini, who is the Italian filmmaker, John Paul Jones, boom, 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 Led Zeppelin bass player. Tracy Ullman, who had many of her own shows, comedian, actress, singer. Harmony Korine, and he was a filmmaker, or is a filmmaker, and he made Gummo, very like indie, underground, artsy filmmaker. But we're gonna look at Tracy Ullman. And Tracy Ullman was more, well, at least for me, at least in America, more popular in the 80s. Spelled her name wrong. But she had the Tracy Ullman Show, where it was an improv comedy show, or a skit comedy show. But her main claim to fame is that that's where The Simpsons first aired, was on her show. So Matt Groening, the creator of Simpsons, was, you know, just starting out his Simpsons routine, his Simpsons show, and they would have little bits in the Tracy Ullman show that, you know, that was a collaboration. So that's where it got started. And she's went on to do other things, other shows, and she's super successful. I mean, maybe you find her annoying. I find her a bit annoying, but she's actually the richest comedian in all of England. So there's that. She's really successful. So I mean, Sun, Saturn, Moon in Capricorn. She's got the Saturn right in between her Sun and Moon. Like, again, very Saturnian. Good dignity in this Saturn. It's in great dignity. It's in Capricorn. Super disciplined, super boss woman. Like, man, like, I mean, Sun, Saturn, Mars, all in Capricorn, all in the second, third house. Moving it in the second, moving into the third whole sign, conjuncting the third cusp, but in the second quadrant. And then Jupiter conjunct Mars, and then Mercury in the second. Jupiter in dignity here. Mars, the ascendant lord, being bona fide by Jupiter in domicile, also Mercury. Neptune in Scorpio on the ascendant. Neptune for comedy, not comedy, show business, right? For fantasy, creativity, movies, cinema, camera, anything like that. So yeah, all very, very strong. Pluto, septile, Jupiter, Mars. So that's really intense and strong. It's just adding to the power of her second house, wealth and voice speaking. And she does everything. Like, she's in front of the camera, behind the camera, writing, directing, producing, you know. Capricorn wants to, you know, be the boss woman. Pluto trine the sun. So it makes her, Pluto wants to control. You know, Saturn and Pluto do have this similar quality. Saturn is the boss, Pluto is the mastermind. So they both want to lead, they both want to control, you know. Uranus conjunct the MC, so for comedy, and it's Uranus is trine her Mercury and Mars and Jupiter. So it's really all really strong. So North Node in Virgo in the 11th house, so career success. I mean, you know, she's probably not going anywhere, really. It's all configured for her ultimate or continued success, rather. Chiron in Aquarius, that's got to be very funny and kind of brilliant in a very unique way. Semi-square, the Saturn Sun, that probably makes her a bit annoying. But the sun, I mean, altogether, I mean, it's just nobody's perfect at everything. She's good at so many things that there's, you know, in any case, there's an element of something that's a little bit annoying. There's a really strong sextile between, well, not only the ascendant, but Neptune and the sun and Saturn. Any case. All right, that's Tracy Ullman. Done very well for herself. Let's go to Aquarius. We got Ashton Kutcher, who I already looked at recently. Brandon Lee. Omran Mikhail Ivanov, who is a mystic teacher in some European country, I can't remember which. Dmitry Mendeleev, who is a Russian scientist and inventor, perfect for Aquarius, you know, the mad scientist kind of stereotype. And then Sherilyn Fenn, who's an actress. Well, I want to look at Mendeleev because why not? It's great for the Aquarian archetype, right? It's perfect. All right. Very strong sixth house, and sixth house is so academic. You'll see that again and again. These people who are just like, you know, like nose to the grindstone, getting to work in a very, well, it could be physical or intellectual way. It doesn't really matter. It's just all about like really getting down to business, brass tacks. Like, could be academic, could be competitive, can be all kinds of things. But it's hard work and focus and very strong intellect, especially in Aquarius. Is going to be much more intellectual sixth house. And he's got Uranus, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus. Wow, really strong. And he was a chemist, and he invented a whole bunch of stuff and really did pioneering work in that field. Pluto is in the eighth, along with Jupiter. So Pluto in the eighth, opposite Saturn. That's super duper scientific, right? Saturn is in Libra. Saturn is exalted. And Pluto, being the scorpionic co-ruler, is a deep diver, and it wants to, you know, pull things apart, see how they work, and control it all from there, especially in the eighth house, right? Mars exalted, you know, area disposited, so eighth house disposited by exalted Mars in the fifth house for education, right? Entertainment potentially, but not for this guy. South node in Capricorn. So Mars is trying Chiron, making him. Mars would lend itself to mechanical ability. So for, you know, mechanical ability and mechanical thinking, that works really well as well. And it's also very imaginative. Mercury is ruling the ascendant, the sixth house. So mostly he's about this sixth house activity. Square to Chiron, so a bit of a weirdo. I mean that, I don't mean it in a bad way, but like squares to Chiron would make him a bit weird, a bit more nerdy. Yeah, and that's, you know, for a scientist, that's perfectly okay. Sun ruling the 12th, imagination, foreign lands. Moon ruling the 11th, also North Node. Career success. It's also very high-minded, and Aquarian. It's Aquarian, so, you know, brilliant, inventive, technological, forward-thinking, that sort of thing. Yeah, so Saturn. So sixth house disposited by Saturn. Trine in exalted. So this is excellent, right? Saturn's exalted. Trine, Venus, and then, you know, it's basically trine all, not exactly, but and that's a mutual reception, obviously. This is excellent. Venus, Saturn. So second and sixth. Second for knowledge base, right? Intellectual resources. So this is really strong. Saturn, Venus mutual reception, where Saturn's already exalted, and then the sextile and opposition to Pluto in the eighth, where Pluto can really dive deep into things. So excellent for an inventor. a scientist, chemist. Let's move on to Pisces. And in Pisces, we have John Wayne Gacy. And I was going to look at his chart, but it's just a little too dark and disturbing. I mean, I did look at his chart, and it's really crazy. And it's sad too. Like, he was severely abused by his father, you know, and he's like always fat and chubby and had like weird sexuality. And it's just sad. But a little too dark, John Wayne Gacy. But also Rachel Weisz, she's an actor. Alexander McQueen, he's a designer, fashion designer. Cindy Crawford, George Frederick Handel, the musician, famous classical musician, composer, and Taylor Hanson of Hanson, modern, young band Hanson. But I want to look at Handel because he's a much nicer character than John Wayne Gacy. And, you know, gotta represent Pisces well. And so Handel has the classic musicians combination. I mean, it's not the only one, but it's very strong, very prominent musicians usually, a lot of times. Venus and Mercury conjunct, his right on the ascendant, and then Sun and Moon in Pisces, in the second house. I mean, first quadrant, but second. And then Neptune in domicile in Pisces, bonifying the Sun and Moon in Pisces, highly creative, right? Extremely creative. And then Sun ruling the 5th, Moon ruling the 6th. So bringing that hard work, daily ethic, hard work ethic, in the daily grind. 7th house for relating to other people. And then there is the opposition to Saturn in Virgo. So one of the problems with Pisces is this ability to this tendency to overexpand. And even though there's tremendous creative potential in Pisces, sometimes there can be a loss of energy in general because of over like no boundaries, just getting lost in the ocean. And so this opposition to Saturn and Virgo is really solidifying and crystallizing this Piscean creativity, allowing him to produce music, right? Allowing him to get to work, right? Also Moon ruling the 6th house. That's very important because you know, otherwise he can have this brilliant music in his head and just be like, oh, this is perfect. I don't need to write it down. I don't need to, do anything with it. I'm just, I got all this wonderful music in my head. I'm just going to sip my wine or, smoke my joint or whatever it is, and go to sleep forever, something like that. But that's not what he's doing. Mars, also very prominent, conjuncting the MC from the 9th house, but still 10th whole sign house. It's actually 11th whole sign house, my bad. But it's very prominent nonetheless. It's square Neptune, which is very interesting. That would tend to make this Neptune more delusional, which is okay as if your main thing is creativity, right? If you are a artist, then it's okay because it's he's chasing dragons or chasing windmills, right? Like it's a quixotic combination because Mars is the physical action. Neptune is the imagination, especially in Pisces. The square makes it a difficult connection to bridge the physical with the imaginary. So it tends to be like, fighting ghosts or things that aren't there. But it's okay, when you're talking about music or any arts, it doesn't really negatively affect it. Great trine with Jupiter and Mercury. And then Uranus and Chiron very close in Taurus, which Taurus is great for any sort of arts, beauty, creativity, aesthetic value, and this is extremely unique combination and great aspect to the nodes. So that's helping a lot in the third. So expression, North Node Pluto and emotional Cancer, disposited by the moon. So highly creative, truly geared up for the arts, and highly sensitive type person. Second house is obviously, it's going to give his music a lot of that fullness and body and sensuality and aesthetic quality, because it's the voice, the house of the voice, the house of the originally Taurus, right? So, but he's got the third house as well for the dynamic, very dynamic, unique, original, but also Taurus, creative, beautiful expression, and sextile Neptune as well, bonifying that as far as beauty and creativity. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope it was interesting for you guys and educational. I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the like button if you are willing, and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Come to my class on Sunday, February 12th on the nodes of the moon. Cost is $10, and just email me if you want to get on the list and book a reading with me. My website is macroastrology.com. My email is macrogoldmachine@yahoo.com. And I will see you again soon. Next video will be Sun conjunct Mars. All right, thanks. Bye.